Okay. So here you are. And we can do, I prefer this view.
Yep.
So since city council is meeting right now, I don't know if Bill will be with us today. He's probably with city council.
Yeah.
So as people join, I'm gonna join on my phone, but as people join, you just promote them to panel. There'll be a little arrow right here.
Okay.
And you just say promote them to panelist. So just keep your eye on this,
Okay.
and accept people as they come in. And then I'll let you have that. I'm gonna go run and get my headphones.
Okay. Give us just a second, you guys. We're not meeting in council chambers, so we're meeting in a meeting room, so we're trying to get things adjusted. Give us just a minute.
No worries.
Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. How's everybody doing?
Doing well. How are you?
We're good.
Good. Good, good.
Hurry up and wait.
That's my life.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go get her headphones and join us with a phone from the meeting room, so we're socially distancing here.
Sounds good. Something to look forward to, huh? Like
Yep.
someday that won't be a thing. Maybe we're on the flip side of it.
I hope so.
Me too.
I miss meeting in person.
I do too.
So have you promoted me to a panelist?
I have. Asked to unmute.
So do more. There, promote to panelist.
There you go.
Yep.
Gotcha. There's Audrey. All right. So it is 4:36 on Thursday, May 27th, 2021. I call this meeting in the Marine Historic Preservation Commission to order. Roll call. Oops, are we recording? Nope. Resume record. Oh, good. Now we're recording. Got it. Now, it's still 4:36 on Thursday, May 27th, 2021. I call this meeting of the Marine Preservation Commission to order. Roll call, Blaine Johnston. Here, J.C. Neri.
Here.
Donald Lusigan. Not here. Brian Fitzgerald is not here. Josh Everts is not here. Destiny Hart.
Here.
Present. Jody Alt.
Present.
Present. Thank you. And Commissioner or Councilperson Jessica Pearl is not here. Quick question, Audrey. I'm gonna look at Audrey because it's easier for me. Is Brian gonna be here throughout the summer, or do you know?
Mr. President, I haven't heard from Brian to say that he's not going to be here, but we have a quorum, so we can move forward. And if he joins, I'll make note of it.
Okay, sounds good. Adoption of the agenda.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Neri.
I move we adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Neri, seconded by Commissioner Hart for adoption of the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Approval of our April 22nd.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Neri.
if there are no edits, I move that we adopt the minutes or approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Neri, seconded by Commissioner Hart for approval of our minutes for our April 22nd meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. New business. Approve monthly financial statements. Audrey, anything new we need to think about or know about as far as monthly financial? Okay.
So, I don't know if everyone else, I was muted, so I'll just repeat, Mr. President, there is nothing to note for this year's or for this month's financial statement.
So nothing new for our monthly financials. So
Mr. President,
yes,
I move that we accept the financial report.
Mr. President, I actually have a question about it. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Sorry, Commissioner Alt. I'm wondering about the gift cards for Preservation Month. Are those next month or did we get them all donated?
Great question. So those will be next month. I get the financial reports at the beginning of the month, and then our meetings at the end of the month. So I received this on
okay.
May 1st. So this will show up on our June 1st financial statement. Yes, so I did purchase some of those. They just haven't shown up yet.
Thank Thanks for clarifying. Apologize.
So with the clarification, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Alt, seconded by Commissioner Neary for approval of our April financial statements. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 3, discuss interest into contributing to interpretive signage along Meridian pathways. I'll let Audrey speak and then I've got a little bit to say, so go ahead, Audrey.
Okay, yes, thank you, Mr. President. So this is kind of an information plus some gauging the commission's interest on this topic. We were approached by Brighton Corporation, a developer in Meridian. They are developing a new neighborhood. I forget the exact streets, but it's in Northwest Meridian. And part of their neighborhood is along the 5 Mile Creek pathway. And as part of some of the mitigation for their development, they have developed the idea to put interpretive signage along the path. They already drafted up a copy of what that could look like. I attached it in the agenda so you can kind of see this is a rough draft preliminary design. But they took some research from the Preservation Commission's strategic plan. In the strategic plan, there's a little write-up about the history of irrigation in Meridian. And so they took information from that to produce content for their signage. So they're looking to partner with the Pathways Manager and Parks and Rec, as well as us, to do some historical signage along the pathways. We briefly discussed this with the mayor. His feedback was that it was a great idea. He just wants to make it a series instead of kind of a one-off. So Brighton has mentioned funding 2 of those signs. The Parks and Rec department is interested as well in continuing the series. At this point, I just had a meeting yesterday with Brighton, and things are still up in the air on if they're going to move forward with this project. They were just kind of reaching out to see what the possibilities are, which is what I'm doing now with the commission, is just to see what the possibilities are. If the commission would be interested in kind of buying into this project, it would be a multi-year project where we would plan a series of 8, 10 interpretive signages along Meridian pathways, highlighting the history of Meridian. There's questions on where we would get the content, who would write it, there's all these questions, but I just wanted to see what the interest of the commission is if we want to participate in this project.
Audrey, I have one question for you. It goes back because Audrey and I met last week, 2 weeks ago with SHPO, and we asked if we could use some of our grant money for the sign. And SHPO says no, that we can't use grant money for that kind of project. So did Brighton give you at least a preliminary cost of what a sign would cost?
Good question, Mr. President. No, they didn't give any estimations on the cost of what a sign would be, but I did a very brief Google search, and some of the interpretive signage, it was a very basic Google search, was between $800 and $1,200 for one sign. I believe because of the grants that we've been receiving, and if we continue receiving grants, our big budget projects are and have been the surveys, the national or the nomination forms for properties, and that's covered by these grants. The other big budget projects that we've done is the virtual tours with Brandon Hull, which has been about $4,000, or maybe even a little less than that. I believe that we do have room in our budget. If we continue receiving the grants, we will have the budget to do 1 or 2 signs a year. It'll take some more research and some more nailing down, but I think if we don't take on any other big budget projects and we just continue receiving grants, continue doing the bigger budget projects that we already have, we have room to maybe fund 1 or 2. Or if the Parks and Rec department pays for the actual signs, we could potentially pay TAG for doing a little bit more research, for generating some more content, or we could produce the content ourselves from the resources that we have. So that was a long answer to kind of your short question of, it would cost about $800 to $1,200 per sign, and we potentially have room in our budget to do 1 to 2 signs per year.
So we don't know exactly when this project may take place. It probably won't be till at least next year or maybe the year after.
I think soonest it could go forward this fall.
Okay.
Yeah, Brighton was really kind of, putting all the steps in place to do this. And then they had a setback working with SHPO on their mitigation process. So that set us back. So originally, when I had put this on the agenda, we were kind of looking at a closer timeline. But now that I learned yesterday that Brighton's kind of been set back, that means the project's kind of been set back as well. So it could be this fall, it could be next year, but it's on the horizon.
I think it's a good opportunity for us to reach the public in a different way than we have in the past. So I think it's a good option for us. I think we probably need to get a little bit more information, and maybe Audrey's right. Maybe we can partner with Parks and Rec. They do the signage. We come up with what we want on the signs. We partner that way. So I think there's probably a little bit more work between us and Parks to come up with a resolution and help Brighton out too. So I think between the 3 entities is probably a good option for us to go forward. So I don't think we need to make a decision this right now, but what are everybody's thoughts on moving forward with this?
Mr. President.
Commissioner Neri.
I agree with you. I like that it's outreach and something we haven't tried yet. I really like this design. The Settlers Make the Desert Bloom. That's the title of Lila's presentation that she put together. It's, in fact, I think there's a copy of the PowerPoint that's stored and then a voiceover video that's on the website. So that's where that came from. And I like that it kind of honors Lila's work. And one of Lila's big pushes has always been talking about the history of irrigation in our community, how it's not taught really enough, and about the 40 years where there were settlers in Meridian and not access to water. And so I think it's a great way to tell the story about really the grit of those early citizens and also honor Lila's life work. I think that's an awesome thing to do. And there's a ton of info in that presentation that she put together in the voiceover video on the website.
So we may have content already available for us. We just have to look at it and read it and see what we want to put on a couple of signs. Yeah,
I think there's, it used to be on that, I'm going to look on the website right now, but that video used to be out there, and all of the photos and the info, it's all on the drive, the city drive from those PowerPoints when Lila was hosting the Historic Preservation Month event. Yeah, so it's meridiancity.org/history and then /desert bloom. is that video. It's uploaded on YouTube. So there's probably enough content. And I think the script for it saved on the drive too. So you might just be able to copy and paste certain sections out. So it might not take that much to put together, and I think it would be a good thing to do for Lila's.
And I agree. I think it's a good idea. And I think at least on one of them, I agree with you, JC, is if we can mention Lila and the work that she's done for the History Center and the History Meridian, mention her on one of the signs.
I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea. I had requested that we put HPC's logo on it. And if Lila's been really the producer of the content,
Right.
I think we can request her name on it as well.
Right.
Credit her, put credit to her name, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they must have watched that video or seen the presentation to come up with the title "Settlers Make the Desert Bloom," because that's where that came from. It was Lila's, and it's her PowerPoint, her information that she created that voiceover video is built from. And that would be my assumption, is they probably found that and used it,
Mhm.
which is awesome. I think that's great. So I'd love to see Lila get the credit for that.
Exactly. Any further discussion on that right now? So I guess, Audrey, we'll just move this as a report, and if we get any more information in the coming months, we'll just continue to talk about it in the future and come up with what we can spend, look at our budget, see what's available for us to move forward. And like I said, partner with Park and Rec. And like I said, if we, excuse me, if we can come up with content, then maybe Park can do the sign or something like that.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good. We're gonna have another meeting next week to discuss it. So it is moving forward. I just kind of wanted to get the buy-in from the commission before I went too far into the project.
Do you want me at that meeting next week, or does it need it necessary?
No, it's mostly logistical information between the Pathways manager
Okay.
and the Brighton Corporation. So, but I'll be there just to sit in and see if I can glean any information that would be helpful.
Okay, sounds good. Perfect. So with that, we will go on to item 4, which is report State Historical Preservation Office's evaluation and feedback of Commission's CLG status. So, like I said, Audrey and I Zoom meeting with Peter on from SHPO a couple weeks ago. We do have a certification again, so they were happy with everything we've done. They did have a couple of recommendations for us. And you may correct me if I'm wrong, Audrey. One was to do a more intensive survey of certain areas. So like North Main, basically, I would say Broadway to Cherry, get tagged to come in, or another group. And Pete mentioned a couple others, but I don't know who they are offhand. Just go in and do an intensive survey of a 3-block wide area, 4-block wide area, Main, Broadway, or Main Meridian Road, Broadway to Cherry. So that was one thing they suggested. What else was on that list, Audrey?
Mr. President, that's what I remember as well. The only other feedback that really stood out to me was we discussed with Pete using our grant funds for Zamzo's Mill, and he basically approved that idea to do an intensive survey of Zamzo's Mill. So it's good to know that we have the green light to move forward with that.
And the other thing that I remember him mentioning was the Idaho Heritage Conference this year. He said, if possible, if we could go to that. That happens to be in Pocatello. I don't know if the mayor's office is allowing out of town travel at this point, or will allow it in September, but that's a possibility also. And I thought he said we could use some grant money for that purpose also.
Yes, I believe that's correct. Yes, I'll look into that. The Heritage Conference. I just got word this morning that the Heritage Conference will be September 27th through 30th. So that information, they haven't released a lot of information, but I think those are the dates. So I'll inquire for traveling and what that will be like in September.
Yeah, because I don't know if that's going to be having virtual conference sessions that we can just Zoom into or whatever, if it's just all going to be live. So,
Okay.
Audrey, if you want to check into that also, that may be a way to get around not being able to travel, but if we can attend it virtually and pay a reduced fee, maybe we can at least attend a couple of sessions that way.
Yes, absolutely. That sounds good.
Okay. Perfect. Any questions on our CLG status and SHPO? Okay. We go on to reports, student history history competition for students. So Commissioner Hart, give us your feedback. What did we do right? What could we do better next year if we want to do this again?
Mr. President, I think that what maybe didn't work as well for us is only contacting West Data and expecting them to distribute information to all the schools. I think that they have a lot going on internally, and I think it sounds like maybe this slipped through the cracks.
Okay.
So I'm thinking next time a better approach would be just to contact the schools individually and make paper materials available in the schools for students to pick up somewhere near the front office. In combination with involving West Data, because I think we have to do that anyway, just for their approval. But I think being more proactive about kind of getting into the schools, and this will obviously be a lot easier when we're not in the midst of a pandemic.
Right.
But getting those hands-on materials into the schools so students have access to those and can bring them home. And so I think that's the lesson learned for me for this time.
Okay. Commissioner Neri, I believe you helped a couple years ago on one. And didn't we go to the schools?
We did. Yeah, I ended up driving out to all of the schools. Hillary and
Okay.
I, we split them up and drove materials out to the front office and ended up notifying the history teacher, if applicable, or the third grade teachers, because there's that curriculum requirement. Yeah, and we unfortunately had to just pull email addresses off of the website and things like that. I love the idea of if we could somehow partner with maybe PTAs might be another good option. PTAs have all of the parents' information, and knowing that I have a 7th grader at my house, and sometimes great things happen at the school, but just because of the way kids' minds work, it doesn't always get home. So maybe if we were contacting parents, maybe parents can say, hey, did you get that form? Or is that something you're interested in? It's a good opportunity for you. Those types of things we can kind of bookmark it and sandwich the kiddos in the middle.
Perfect. I like the idea about the PTA. That's a good suggestion. So we'll
Mr.
make note of that.
President?
So next year, make sure that gets done. So
Mr.
any other
President?
thoughts? Commissioner Hall?
I also think we need to start earlier because teachers are planners. And when we go to them at that, date and say, hey, we're doing this month, they don't necessarily have the option to include that in their lesson plans or to assist with that. So I think we need to start at getting them the information, or even just an email that says, hey, we're going to do this 2 months in advance.
Okay. I was just going to ask what time frame you thought, but you answered my question. So perfect.
And I did try during that time frame to talk to as many of those history teachers that I ran into at work. So, you know, I was put off by the district office. Oh, well, we already know about this. So
Oh.
I'm not sure they did a lot.
Okay. So maybe just a combination of pandemic year and doing a few other things, we can get a better response next year with this. So I appreciate everybody's efforts on that. Any other discussions on that item? Okay. Go on to Preservation Month Scavenger Hunt. Commissioner Neri, how many people participated? Do you know right offhand?
I do. We had 14. So I would say participation percentage wise of our followers felt low to me. It was good comments. And I think people who participated enjoyed it, but not quite what I was seeing or would have liked to have seen. I think part of that though is because HPC was largely silent on social media this year.
Right.
And so just that I think we'll be in a better spot just in future years when we have more of a regular contact. You know, it was just we just kind of picked it up and had only been interacting for 1 month before we tried it. So again, I just think it's thinking about how we maybe market it differently, and hopefully next year with a year of regular contact, we'll have better relationship with our social media followers.
And I think that probably holds true with the student competition also, is we get both of those going earlier, since they coincide the same month, basically. Pardon me, that if we get that content out on Facebook and Instagram earlier, then people are going to be aware of it, and we should have better response. So
yeah, I think so. And I think knowing that we're going to push regular content on social media, it'll be something that we do all the time. People will know to look for us, and they'll know to look for us there. I know that the city is hiring for a communications person, so perhaps HPC could have a meeting with that new employee when selected, and talk about how to build that same partnership of when HPC is putting things on our social, that they're also pushed to the city page. And trying to rebuild that connection we had going a couple of years ago.
yeah,
Because I think that would be really helpful too. And if that communications person can support those efforts, it would, I think, be helpful with all of the outreach programs we do.
One detail to also note, or an update, is that we selected 5 grand prize winners and 2, I believe, runners up, and I messaged all of them, and I only heard back from 4 grand prize winners. And one of them, unfortunately, was a city employee, and the city employees are the only people that we can't give prizes to, which I didn't know until they told me that they were a city employee. So I was only able to give away 3 gift cards. I don't know if it's too late to follow up and find more people to give prizes to. I didn't purchase any additional gift cards, so I only purchased the 3 and sent them out. So we don't have any spare gift cards running around. But I don't know if we just wanted to leave that at that, or keep trying to hunt down a couple more people.
My guess is, my feeling is, let's just leave it alone, not try and reach out any further. But that's just my opinion. I don't know what everybody else's thoughts are on the matter. If we should go ahead and contact 2 more people and get those other 2 gift cards and get them to them, or what. So
Yeah, I would agree. I think holding off is fine. The names that we picked were the ones who guessed correctly, which is kind of what the contest was about. So
right,
I think holding them, and maybe it allows us to do, you know, like a real quick giveaway in September sometime, right? Like, hey, name this photo and get entered for a drawing. And that gives us 2 other opportunities between now and next May to do some level of engagement where there's a prize associated with it. And we don't have to spend any more money.
Good suggestion, JC. So we'll just put something out for a September giveaway. Name this building or name this site or when was a building built or something like that. And we can go that way. So that's
Yeah,
great,
love
great
that.
suggestion. Any other thoughts on our scavenger hunt? Other than like we talked about before, get it out earlier, and since we're going to be more active on social media, I think the sooner we can get it out and tickle people's ears, the better off we're going to be. So perfect. Okay. We'll go on to item 7. Since we're talking about social media efforts for June.
Mr. President, Commissioners, Audrey, I owe you a social media calendar. It's on my calendar to do tomorrow. So sticking with the Throwback Thursday, I feel like that's probably easy to manage, and then people will know to look for us in those spaces. So I kind of thought I would look for some summer photos. It's the first month of summer. We have some good ones of people at the early dairy bar, which was like a hangout space, kind of like a Hungry Onion, pre-Hungry Onion. We have some early park photos, something like that. So I just thought something summer themed, but open-minded to suggestions, thoughts, feelings.
Do we have any photos of dairy days?
Yeah. Are we doing dairy days? Is Meridian doing
I
any?
haven't heard. Now I
Ooh,
just thought
okay.
about that.
I like that. I can find
Yes.
some.
I have an outline of dairy days I just received this week, so I know it's happening. I don't remember the dates, but it's later in June. But yes, dairy days is happening.
So that ties
that.
into perfect.
Yep. We can absolutely do a dairy days themed month.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun. And then if there's a, I'll leave space if there's becomes a dairy days themed hashtag as we get closer to that. If the Dairy Association uses one or something, we could link that so that we have that connectivity. I don't know that they do, but I feel like they might. Or maybe the new communications person can put one together. But
Right.
yep. I'll get that done and sent out. Just for everybody's reference, it's still on the Google Drive, so the template's there for future use if you need it, want it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. President,
Audrey.
last month we discussed setting a regular time for the social media subcommittee to get together and kind of maybe, discuss things or produce content, anything like that. So I just want to put it on the mind of other commissioners if they want to join in on creating content calendars. JC has been such a rock star and has really done most of the work for the last couple of months. And, not to put a damper on the meeting, but JC won't be here for very much longer. And so just for the other commissioners to know that we either will maybe set up a rotation of taking turns putting together the calendar, or if one person wants to take on the responsibility, that's great too. But thank you, JC, for working on June. But unfortunately, I know that JC won't be here in July.
Yeah. Happy to do it one last time. And if there's somebody who wants to be involved with that, we can tag team it or even work on it together. I'm happy to just transition materials over. I know that Commissioner Alt had experienced or expressed an interest. So if that's something that you're still looking into or want to, happy to set up a call with you and we can just talk through it, or I can even just say, here's what I've been using. Or anybody else, I just happy to transition that in a way that keeps it really streamlined and helps support you, Audrey, so you don't spend too much time doing much more than posting.
Well, I think once we get more content out there, and I think we all just need to work as a team, look at something that's out there. If you see something on that Google Drive, get it to Audrey, and then we can all just start. I don't want to bombard her because she's got to do the posting, but at least get her some suggestions on what we can do. And not just the Throwback Thursdays, Flashback Fridays, whatever you want to call them, but get stuff out there, so. Any other discussions for social media? I think we've got our future topics. We'll continue to discuss our CLG status and talk about the Heritage Conference and an intensive survey on a certain area. We need to go reach out with TAG and SHPO to see how the final report for Zamzows Mills going along and the Speedway, see where we're standing on those two things. But we'll just keep plugging away and keep doing what we're doing. So our next meeting is June 24th. Hopefully we'll be in conference chamber. So I think we can still meet in there, socially distanced, and still be fine. Everybody wants to show up. So like I said, I miss seeing everybody in person, but it is what it is right now. Anything else we need to talk about? All righty. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. President,
Commissioner
move
Hall.
we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Alt, seconded by Commissioner Neri for adjournment. All those in favor say aye.
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 Nay. Any further discussion? We are done. Thanks, everybody, for another great meeting, and keep in touch, and we'll talk to you next month.
Thank you. Thanks, Audrey.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.